episode 45 of the Whatnauts Review Show, where each week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, scripted audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined as always by Kyle Springer. Kyle.
Howdy.
How are you
That's
today?
Me. I'm good. We had a bit of a delay this morning.
Yeah.
Mistakenly decided to update my computer like 10 minutes before we were about to start.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I shouldn't have done that, should I? And then I looked up and it's like, you have half an hour left on your update. So that was not what I expected. But I did have my Amazon package come in. So now I have this sweet backlight thing going on. And I can change it to different colors. And now we have like a pink and yellow thing going on. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it to you. The light is actually red, but because it's on the white wall, it makes it pink. But I think it looks good.
Yeah.
So here we are, talking about stuff.
No, I like it. I like the colored lighting a lot. I use that extra pocket of time to just put on too much makeup today.
There you go. Sounds fun.
I recommend it to everybody. Just put on too much makeup some mornings. Oh, it's it's calming.
There you go. Well, what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about The Artist. This is a 2011 film. This is directed by Michael Hazanavicius.
They made a movie about me?
No, Kyle. They made a movie about 1920s Hollywood and the transition from silent films to sound films. And this is itself a silent, black and white, like written the
mainly silent.
Yeah, mainly silent. Dialogue written on the title cards, the whole thing, old-fashioned style silent picture. And it took home the 2012 Best Picture Oscar, because I pitched you a bunch of Best Picture winners. It's about time we class up our film library around here, and there could be no classier choice than The Artist.
Last week you were like, it's about time we classed up this show. And I was like, hey, what are you trying to say?
I mean, I am the person that has been pitching like the bulk of our movies, and it has been like, oh, how about Wet Hot American Summer? So like, it's on me.
I mean, hey, that's a pretty classy movie if you ask me.
It's got astrophysics and everything.
Everything, yep.
This was a movie I didn't really know anything about. I mean, the visual style of it, of course, is very memorable because there hasn't been a silent movie made like this in decades. So I remembered like the way it looked. I remember that people were excited about it. I knew there was a dog in it and the dog was very good. But this was one of those movies that like after that awards season seemed to die out, and I haven't heard anybody mention it in years. And like while I was looking up the movie, like I had to type in the full title before Google would suggest, oh, The Artist, right, that movie. And it was kind of not hard to track down, but less accessible than you would think a recent Best Picture winner would be. So it seems like this has kind of fallen by the wayside. But
yeah, it's an interesting movie. We already mentioned that it's black and white. It's mainly silent. It's just an orchestral score for most of it. It's really not something you see nowadays. Obviously, our technology has gotten, way beyond all of that stuff when that was all that they had. So we've kind of left this whole genre and aesthetic kind of behind, and I think it's not really something that a lot of people are necessarily looking for, especially in the mainstream, because I'm sure there's still silent films and all of that stuff in smaller indie stuff, but this was an interesting one because it was a big, like it won Best Picture, which I think this year Black Panther is up for something like that. So yeah, it's crazy to see the differences of just what could possibly win that. But I picked this one because I had heard good things. But I think it was also the one that I knew the least about.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, I had heard about this thing, and it's so different from everything else that I was like, let's do that one and see what this is all about. So yeah, we went with the artist. Oh, and it's also a very generic name.
It is.
Too, which I in today's like computer run Google search algorithm SEO type of stuff, something that vague and that generic is it makes it harder to find, which might also be partly why it's just like it didn't seem to be as accessible, but it's on Amazon Prime Video right now.
I got this off of Fandango's movie watching service. In addition to the movie tickets app, they have like a streaming platform. Yeah, I didn't know either, but it was the cheapest way to. No, you buy the movies, but I was able to buy this I was able to rent it for $1. So it's just like a virtual Redbox.
Digital Redbox.
Yeah.
Hey, sit at the same time. Yeah, cool. Well, let's do a synopsis then for people who may not have seen this film.
Okay, it is 1927. This is the heyday of silent film, and there's this big film star named George Valentin. And he's like waving to people out on the red carpet, and this young lady like drops her purse and accidentally steps onto the red carpet with him, and he just sort of like makes a scene of it and like grabs her and kisses her on the cheek like, "Hi, I love my fans." And she's like, the paper says, "Who's this girl? Who's this girl he's with?" And she wants to be an actress too, and she auditions and she gets like a tiny role in one of his movies. And they're like, "Oh, I remember you." And they really hit it off during the filming of this movie. And then sound pictures hit. And George Valentin's like, "I'm not going to sound. This is some kooky new novelty. Nobody's going to come for sound. They come like for 3D. Me." Yeah.
3D's not gonna stick around.
And like his studio drops him. They want fresh faces for the fresh sound world, and he tries to make his own movie on his own, and it bombs. And at the same time, he's like, his entire life is falling into shambles. The actress, Peppy, her career is skyrocketing. She's this huge new film star, and you just watch their two careers move in like completely different trajectories, and they still have this connection with each other. And it's about, are they going to find each other again and like get George back on their feet? And there's a dog.
Also kind of a romance.
Yeah.
Between them as well. Bit of a forbidden romance, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. They do a lot of interesting visual stuff just with the film. Again, it's mainly silent, but even though the film is in, I think the one that I found was 720, but it's still in the like square. Like it's good quality, but it's done in the square thing. I didn't even notice. And that was interesting. Yeah, it's not just like, oh, we're just gonna desaturate everything and make it black and white. It looked like it was filmed on like actual film cameras and like made on black and white film. I'm not sure if that's actually true or if that was
I don't know
post, but it has that look.
It's a lot more than just like we turned the color off. Like, it does have this kind of older look to it. And when those title cards flash up, it's got that like kind of graininess to it that an old real like title card inserted into a film would. And it's got the same old typography.
Because you mentioned right before we went live that we have done 3 movies since you've been on the podcast. I guess this year-ish. That were in black and white, but weren't really made in black and white times. Yeah. Like, they are somewhat more modern films. And The one that I'm thinking of right now, again, you're gonna have to remind me of the name
Much
'cause I
Ado
forget.
About Nothing.
That one, the Shakespeare
That
one. Much
that
Ado About Nothing. That
that
one's
was
also in black
that
and
came
white,
out
but
in
you can.
2012. That came out just like a year after this, I think.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it looks completely different. Like it
Yes.
looks like it's shot on a digital camera. It looks like they just put on a black and white filter. Like
Mhm.
it. Not to say that that movie is worse or
No.
bad or stuff like that, but it's just like the attention to detail that they put on this film with making it actually look like the movies back then is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, good stuff.
Yeah,
Good stuff
lots
with
and
that.
lots of details, production design, like it feels very authentic. And one thing I liked about it is that it felt like a movie that was happy to be a movie.
Yeah, that's oddly like very apt
Yeah,
of just like it's a happy-go-lucky movie.
and one fun fact about it I found out while I was looking it up, it is the only Best Picture winner to ever be about the film industry itself.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Good to know. Fun stuff. John Goodman is in this film.
I know, I was so excited, and I had no idea there were like name actors in this thing.
Yeah,
Because I
there's
knew like the two
Babe
leads
Dude.
were French.
Yeah, George, the main character, he's played by a French
Yeah.
actor, and then I want to say Peppy is too,
I think
but
so.
I'll you know what? Let's move on into spoiler stuff because I kind of have, I guess, a couple questions about stuff like that.
Okie
So,
dokie.
let's go ahead and do some spoiler stuff while you guys might be turning everything off. Housekeeping
Yeah.
for ya. What did we do last week? We did Spider-Man Blue,
Mm-hmm.
which was the second of our Valentine's Day kind of episodes, and this is also kind of our third one.
Kinda, yeah.
It's a bit of a romance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we have some previous Valentine's Day episodes before Spider-Man. What was the one that
We
you
watched
picked?
Pushing Daisies.
Pushing Daisies. That's right.
Yes.
That one was phenomenal. I really liked that. Go watch it. It's on CW Seed. You and I also just recorded an episode of the Captain's Log. If you're live watching this with us right now, it's not up yet. It's almost done. I have to finish uploading stuff and post it on our website. But it's getting there. And Melissa, you had the most insane like manuscript that you brought, and we talked about for a bit there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So go check it out. That was episode 39, I think, of the Captain's Log. So go subscribe to that show as well. It's a lot of fun. I think that's it for housekeeping stuff, though.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything else like that. So, without further ado, let's get into spoiler territory.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. There we go. So I had a question.
Okay, yeah.
About the stuff. So this movie is a French movie, right? It's a like French director, was made in. I mean, I guess it's not made in France because it's the movie itself is set in Hollywood.
Yeah, it looks like Hollywood. Like, I don't think you can get palm trees in France anywhere, as far as I know. I think this was like a co-production, because I thought it was a French movie too, and then I realized, wait, like there's a whole separate category for best foreign film. If this wasn't
films,
foreign,
yeah.
you know, if it was foreign, it wouldn't have won the best picture. So I think it's a multicultural co-production.
International production.
Yep.
Because it confused me because, yeah, I thought it was a French film. I don't know how the Oscars work because I don't really give a shit about the Oscars.
Yeah.
So it was like I didn't know that like foreign films can't just win best picture. That seems strange
I
to
know
me.
there's got to be
But
some sort of like bureaucratic logistics thing where it's like completely foreign films, you go in the best foreign film category, and like a lot of
that's lame.
co-productions. I don't know how it works. I'm not a big Oscars nut either, to be honest. I watched the entire ceremony the year Return of the King took home 11 awards. And like sometimes I'll watch it if I'm like invited to somebody's party, but I'm not a big
Okay.
nerd about it personally. Yeah, I think because this is a co-production with an American studio, just with some French talent behind it, that puts it into the regular picture qualification category.
Gotcha. Because yeah, the title cards are in, for or at least the one that I had. I don't know if they have English title cards, but the one that I watched, all the title cards were in French,
Whoa. Mine were in
and
English.
I, yeah, I didn't mind it.
Huh.
I kind of just left it, but it was really strange to me because there's not very many title cards. They
Mhm.
come up every now and then, but even without understanding the French, I was able to understand everything that was happening,
Oh, so there was not like one English word presented to you while you watched this movie?
except the papers, like when they had like, "Who is that girl?"
Oh my god, we have had
Yeah,
very
no,
different experiences then.
yeah, and so like I thought about that as I was watching it. I was like, I wonder. I wonder if it's supposed to be in French or if there's an English
I think so.
version or something. But yeah, so the ones I had were in French, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's a French movie.
Mhm.
Let's see how important these title cards are. There didn't seem to be much, so I was like, all right, who cares? But all the actors seemed to be speaking in English when they were mouthing
I
words. I was
think
like,
so.
oh, I recognize that word. Like
Yeah.
not that I can read lips
Hmm.
very well, but enough to be like, oh, she actually said goodbye,
Yeah.
not like something in French,
Hmm.
And I was like, so are they? Is this a French film? Is this just a whole charade? Like, is this just part of the thing where like they're making it look like it's a French film?
No,
But I guess not.
mine had the title cards in English. You must have gotten like the French released version of this.
Maybe I did.
I don't know how that happened, but that's really cool though that like even without understanding any of the title cards, you still got the
Yeah,
entire story beginning to end with like nothing except for the things in the frame of the movie, like little notes and newspapers and things like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
it's all it's all very
Hmm.
self-explanatory just to watch it and see what happens. Like, this guy's a big star. He's the big thing. He's on stage for 10 minutes, and they're still like, he's amazing. Look at the dog. It's amazing. Everything's amazing.
Hooray for the
Um,
dog.
and yeah, and then you just see his career tank as talkies are the
Hmm.
next big thing, and here comes Peppy, who is this young, attractive star, and she, she's becoming the next big thing. She's on her way up as he's on his way down, which happens actually visually in the
Yeah.
movie too.
Yeah, on the
Um,
stairs.
yeah, there is the stairs scene where he's on the way out from basically being let go and fired, and she's on her way in to a new production. But they meet on the stairs where he's going down and she's going up, and it's just like, I like.
Yeah.
I mean, not that that's when it clicked for me. I understood before that, but it
Yeah.
is just that's a really good visual metaphor
Yeah, and
for this. Like,
to
this is a
be
fantastic scene.
and I didn't even think about that like until you just brought it up that it is a representation of she's going up and he's going down. I was just like, wow,
Yeah,
look at how pretty those stairs are. I was
yeah,
focused on the literal like stairs themselves because it was a
yeah.
very pretty building.
It's that, and also in his movie, that
Hmm.
last movie that he
Yeah.
makes, there's a lot of representation representation of like what is happening to
Yes.
him in his life. Um, it's kind of like an Indiana Jones, Doc Savage kind of movie,
Yes. Yeah, it
you
feels
know.
very Doc Savage.
And at the end of the movie, there's a scene when his movie finally comes out, and it's on October 25th, which is the same day that her new
Mm-hmm.
movie comes out, and she goes to see his movie. And they're like the scene where it shows her watching the film.
Oh, yes.
He's literally in quicksand, sinking, and the girl in the movie that he loves can't do anything to
Mm-hmm.
save him, and she's just like sitting there watching it all. And like that's it. That's the end of the film.
Yeah, it's grim.
And that's exactly what's happening in the movie, where
Yeah.
his career is sinking, and she's watching all of this
Mm.
happen, and she has no idea what to do. Like, she has no idea how to save him or help
Mm-hmm.
him out. And it's kind of it's an oddly sad story for
Yeah.
him, but it's weird because this is not a sad movie, really.
No,
Like, it's a comedy. It's very upbeat for
Mm-hmm.
most of it. There's a lot of good drama and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
there's all sorts of stuff.
it gets dark. Like at his lowest point, he puts a gun in his mouth.
Oh,
And
the one title card that was in English was that
it was
one where
bang.
it said bang. Yeah.
And the bang is like, you
The
think he just
car
shot himself,
crash.
but she has crashed the car rushing to his place
Yeah.
to try and find him.
Which was a fantastic little bait and switch. you
Yeah,
know?
that was nice. This movie has a fairly simple story. Like, there's nothing about the story itself that's terribly new, but it is told with so much subtlety and so much craft to it. Like, you were mentioning stuff I didn't really pick up on so much, but like, which shows you that even for as simple as it is, like, this is something you could watch a lot of times and still notice, oh, I see, like, this connects to this
Yeah.
other thing. What I really appreciated about it, and what I think is a benefit of the medium they chose to tell it in, the silent film, is that there's a lot of like quiet contemplative scenes.
Yeah.
Like when after they've shot that first scene they have together in the one movie they're in together, she goes to his dressing room. She wants to like leave him a little thank you note, and it's just her like taking a minute to like look around his dressing room, and she like slips her arm inside this suit coat of his that's hanging up on a hanger, and then she's like she's doing this mime thing where like, you know, that thing people would do in 90s sitcoms where they'd wrap their arms around themselves and it's like they're making out with themselves. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
She's doing that thing. And it's just this lovely like couple stretches of like no title cards, no other interaction. It's just her on the screen in his space, like kind of absorbing who this man is. And it's really lovely. And
It's an interesting scene because it's also kind of creepy. Like, she doesn't know this guy, and she's in there like smelling his jacket and stuff like that. She's like, "What in the world?" But yeah, at the same time, it is this like kind of sweet though that
Yeah.
she's so like enraptured by this guy. Just who are you? You're this
Yeah.
big star. Like, well, what is it like to be you?
Mhm.
And then she becomes the next big star.
Like Peppy is his fan and she never stops being his fan. And I like that the movie, it did kind of include both of that. Like, she's his fan and she is also his equal. Like, they're peers and they are, love interests for each other. And it doesn't forget that she was just a fangirl once. Like, at the end of like, he sells off all of his property, like every souvenir, every like keepsake of all of his films, just to like fund his life now that like he doesn't have a job and his wife has divorced him. And he finds that she bought all of that and has been keeping it. And it's this sort of mixture of, oh, I love this man as an artist. I want to have these I want to have this memorabilia of his time as an artist, and this man is a friend and, a very close, dear, personal friend of mine, and I want him to be able to have the things that are his. Like, there's this dual layer with a lot of the stuff that Peppy is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
even with, because I mentioned all the stuff, all the parallels that the stuff is happening in his life and it's also happening in his movies. Even for her, the movie that she makes that is also out on
Yes.
on October 25th is called The Beauty Spot, I believe, or something like that, which is what he suggested that she wear, and it's this thing that she's just always done, and here, like, it's this weird thing of, like, his influence over her is still what is making her such a big star.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't really know it, you know?
Like, he was just sort of suggesting this thing to her, like, hey, if you want to stand out for the other girls, he just takes, like, an eyeliner pencil and, like, dots a little mole on her face. Like, here, now you look a little different. And it's just sort of this little playful thing he does that she, like, takes to heart, and it turns into something really lovely for her. And I liked that he had an influence on her career, but not in a way that, like, he did work for her or anything. Like, it was just the right level of involvement for him to have, like, in her life. Oh, I thought that was a nice touch. That was really well balanced. A lot of stuff in this movie is really well balanced. Like, we were talking about how he's about to shoot himself in the mouth, but it's still a comedy. Like, it does, like, comedy and drama, and, like, the
that scene, and she finally gets to the house. She walks in the door, and as he's like, oh shit, like, I don't actually want to do this, you know, he accidentally does fire the gun, and the dog, who knows how to play dead, is like,
the movie is also a love story about the man and the dog. Like, that dog sticks with him through everything. I get why that dog is amazing about that dog.
Yeah, that dog is amazing. Just all of the tricks he get. There's so many also just like visual film references, because the film opens up literally in one of George's movies, where he's in some sci-fi film, and he looks like he has on some, like, headgear, and he's getting electrocuted, and that looks like Metropolis, Fritz Lang movie, which I think came out in, like, 1927.
Yeah,
which is I think when the year when
film.
The movie opens up. It looks like that scene when the robotic woman is getting shocked to life. And then, you have the dog, which is like all of the, like, dog TV shows that were
like your Lassies and your Rin Tin Tins.
And stuff like, and you have that moment where the guy is in trouble, and the dog has to go find the policeman, and he's just like, shoo, you little dog. And there's that woman who's like, what are you doing? You're a cop. Go follow the dog. The dog obviously wants you to follow him. Someone's in trouble. Go. Do your job. He's just like, should I actually go? Is that a thing? Do I have to go follow this dog?
Yes, follow a dog. This is Hollywood.
Is someone in the well? And that scene was really funny too, because the cop had no idea what to do, and he starts like slow jogging, like, maybe I should speed up a little bit. and he's like, oh shit, a fire.
It feels very authentic to the time, but it also kind of plays on just our perspective looking back on that time. Like, it feels true to itself, but also, like, commenting on itself in this kind of weird middle ground. I don't know, like,
kind of
the movie he makes, that Doc Savage-y movie, and, like, when it first shows him as, like, a jungle adventure, I'm like, oh no, like, there's gonna be so many, like, just terrible encounters with the natives, and
which there was.
Well,
I mean, we don't really see like the terrible encounter, but there are natives, you know. It's like, oh, he's being attacked by the natives.
And I like that the movie, like, wasn't lying about what that movie probably would have been, but it also doesn't, like, go out of its way to show you. Like, it doesn't show
Yeah.
them. Like, you see like guys in the costumes, but they're not portrayed as like villains or anything like that, you know? Like, they're just sort of
Yeah.
around, and it's not exactly clear what role they're playing. We know, the audience, because we know what kind of movies like that were being made in like 1929.
White man
Yeah.
trespasses on.
So like, it's not so it's very true to the fact that there were a lot of like colonial exploring types of movies then. Of course he would make something like that, but we're not gonna like go out of our way to show you how terrible it was. You know, like, you get the idea. Like, I feel like that was handled very well.
So I think that kind of brings up maybe my only complaint with this. Well, not my only one. I actually have two major ones, but the first of which is that everything felt shiny and new. And I don't like, you mentioned at the start that this film feels like it's a movie that is just happy to be a movie.
Yes.
Which I think aptly fits, but I don't know if that's really what it was like, and I don't think it was.
Yeah, it
like
is.
I know Hollywood back then was kind of in its heyday of just, oh, this is the good glamorous thing, but this is taking place, but like basically between World War I and World War II.
Yeah, and like the stock market crash happens during this movie.
Yeah, and so like I mean, there's a Netflix show called Babylon Berlin, and it's a German show. It's fantastic. Highly recommend you all go watch that show. But it also takes place like early 1930s in Germany, right before the Nazis rise to power. And it's like a murder mystery detective show, and it's fantastic. Not because there's Nazis in there. That's like the over looming like bad thing that's about to happen in that show. But it takes place kind of around the same time, and they do a really good job of really showing how poor these people were, how dirty they were, you know. The whole thing in this movie where all the girls went to find work, and he was like, all right, we need 3 ladies to do this. Who thinks they can do that? And all of them just swarm like, oh, pick me. Look, I can do this, and I can do the Charleston, you know, and all of that stuff. That was also in the Babylon Berlin show, but before the character in the Babylon Berlin show goes, it shows her at her house basically mentioning she hasn't showered in a week, and so she takes a washcloth and like wipes her armpits and wipes between her legs, and that's it. And it's like, well, she's good for another 3 days. you know, and it's just like, that's disgusting. Like, I feel like that was a more accurate portrayal of what life was like. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
I didn't live back
like,
then, but
this is a period of
everything was shiny and
glitz and glamour, but also like we were in between 2 world wars. Like, this is the stock market crash. Like, the only person we see bad things happen to is really George. But we know bad things must be happening to everybody just based on this time period in history.
It's like, it's not even that I want to see more bad things happening. It's just like, I know Hollywood is trying to put on this air of, this glitz and glam and stuff like that. But you also see a lot of scenes that like they're not on set, or they're driving to the set, and it's just like it doesn't matter where they are, everything looks shiny, everything looks new, all the cars look
like there's
perfect.
No bum on the street or anything like that.
There's no dirt, there's no grime, and that was like the one weird thing like visually that I was just like, I
get that strange.
But I guess in the long run, I that's me being a weird nitpicky.
No, I understand it. Yeah, that wasn't something I had really noticed. I think I was just happy to watch a movie that was so like clean and crisp, and it's got this one black hole in it, which is George, but everything around him is kind of nice and neat, and that's what makes him such an aberration in the story. Oh, it worked for me while I was watching it. I want to talk really briefly about George's wife.
Go for it.
I thought she was interesting because this is kind of a stock character sort of thing you would see in a lot of other movies, and you can so he's this big star, and he's out there like he's not really a philanderer, but he's kind of flirty, you know, when Peppy accidentally steps on the red carpet, he like kisses her on the cheek.
He's a big star.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. And his wife gets crabby at him, and he like buys her like the string of pearls. And I like that there's this montage, and they're just sitting opposite each other across this big table, just reading newspapers, not looking at each other. And you keep seeing it flash to her in different outfits as like time progresses, and she's wearing like more and more jewelry as he is kept like pissing her off and then like buying her affections again.
Yeah.
And I feel like in another movie, like she would just be that. She would just be this kind of stern, you know, crabby lady at the other end of the table that he just has to keep buying off. But there's this moment where she comes to him and she says, "George, we have to talk. I'm unhappy."
Yeah.
And like she's really vulnerable. Like she's not the antagonist in that moment. She's her whole own character, and she's like acting on, you know, her own interests, and she's like, "I'm not happy. I'm getting out of here for me." And I feel like we would have seen something like this in an older movie, but she would not have been given that kind of depth to her. She would not have been a real person like she feels like in this movie, even for as briefly as she appears.
Probably would have just disappeared, and they wouldn't have said a thing and just moved on.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, oh, well, here's the new young star.
Or they would have had her
Hollywood
like
star.
storm off in a huff, like, you know, I married you for your money, and if you can't give me the money, I'll marry somebody else. And now she's just like, I'm unhappy.
But she also didn't take anything except basically what she was wearing. Like, if she wanted to, like, I mean, she did leave the note that basically said, hey, get your stuff out. You have 2 weeks.
Yeah, so she kind of took, like, it seems like
her stuff.
It seems like she might have taken like the house or something like that, and he was so destitute after that. Well, he also did lose his job, but it did seem like
and the stock market crash, you know.
Yeah.
But like I mean, because he also still has that auction too. To just get rid of all of his stuff, all of his memorabilia. And so, yeah, I mean, they didn't really make it seem like she married him for the money.
Exactly. And like
stuff like that. So
the actual like late 1920s version of that character might have done something like that, and this version didn't.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff to see. But yeah, she kind of storms off, and then that's it.
Yeah,
afterwards.
And I think that's the strength of this movie, that a character that appears so briefly, like, feels very real and feels like something from the time, but just appropriately updated. Like, nothing feels anachronistic, but nothing also feels like unaware of what 2011 is, you know? Like, it all feels like an appropriate treatment of what that time was.
2011, man. Good times.
Worrying about the apocalypse.
Speaking of side characters, Clifton was his name in the movie. The driver. Babe Dude, as I like to call him, because I don't remember his actual name.
James Cromwell.
Yeah, that guy, Babe Dude.
Babe Dude.
That guy does not age.
Yeah, I think he has always been old. He's been old since we were like 4.
But yeah, he was old when Babe came out, and then I remember I watched L.A. Confidential like a year ago, and he's in that, and he's a cop, and he's old in that too. And then here's this, and he's like he looks the same. He doesn't age, but at the same time, he's not like old where he can't do anything. Like, you see him kneeling on one knee, getting up and down. He's carrying the main character at one point. Like, this guy's an alien. He's a superhuman. I don't understand it. He has super strength and super joints. Like, he needs to be in more, because he's a good actor too. Like, he needs to be in more stuff. He's fantastic.
I watched a day of 24 once just to see what that show was like, and he was in that. I think he was Jack Bauer's dad, and he was pretty good.
That's funny. Yeah, he was a good character, but he had that awkward moment where George wakes up in Peppy's house, and he comes in to give him something, and he's like, "Oh, why are you here?" He's like, "I work for her now." after you fired me, I went to where the money was.
But he worked for George for free for a year just out of loyalty, which is so sweet. And George fired him out of loyalty. Like, you need to make a real living. Stop hanging around me.
Yeah, and he's just
You're
like,
free now.
"Why are you doing this?" You're a star. You're an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here to help you out. And he's just like, "No, dude, I'm done.
Move on. Leave me here to die.
Leave me here to die, suffocate my own sadness." Yeah, but like, and then so let's talk about, I guess, his nightmare.
I love that.
That was an interesting scene,
because I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm like, oh, is the movie turning into this from this point on? Is this
that's
the rest
what I
of the
thought
movie?
so too. I was like, oh, that would be an ingenious kind of thing, that halfway through there's sound and he has to kind of get used to sound, because that would also be an interesting metaphor. And no, it's just a nightmare where everything has sound except for him. Mm-hmm. He's an artist without a voice.
Yeah.
Literally. He's kind of in this depressive state where he doesn't really know what he wants to do. Mm-hmm. Which, being an artist myself, I've absolutely had that thing. And it sucks to be in that depressive state and just be like, I don't know if anything I'm doing is really worth it, or if it matters, or and it was a fascinating scene, which I also think that scene may have been filmed, or I don't want to say filmed silently, but sound effects were added into
like
it, rather than like, let's just have him be silent and record everything else. It sounded like they recorded it normally and they took all of the sound out and then added in sound effects, which was an interesting way to go about it. Yeah,
because I don't think you hear like normal everyday sounds like clothes wrestling against each other as you move, or footsteps. It's like he sets down a glass and the glass. Okay, but it's a lot of like any sound that is not significant is removed.
You don't hear his breathing.
Yes,
yeah. You don't hear his clothes kind of rustling, but you do hear his footsteps. You do hear items being knocked down, stuff like that. It's basically every object except for him, minus his footsteps. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
What a fantastic, like, tense scene. Like when that feather is like slowly drifting to the ground.
I was like, it's gonna be really loud. It's gonna be so loud.
Like, it makes an explosion noise when it hits the ground, and it's so great. I liked George's descent into just destitution. Like, it was just like, it's sad, but it's so well done sad. Like that nightmare he has, and when he like he moves into this little cheap house by himself, and he's stuffed all of his like big star souvenirs in there, so it's filled with like expensive art and sculpture just shoved into like a tiny house with like 3 bottles of booze in the ice box. And like he has this fantasy that like his role from that Doc Savage film like is like 6 inches tall and comes strutting up to him on the bar top and is like pointing and yelling at him.
Do something. Get on with your life.
Yes.
That it's an interesting film for sure.
And
my other
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. You
No,
were about to say something.
I just want to stop and say that my favorite part of it was definitely when him and Peppy are falling for each other, when they have to do that, like, okay, so in this movie, his character, it seems like he's maybe a spy, and he's just sort of like walking across this dance floor at some fancy party to get to
Yeah,
his informant.
that's an awesome
And he
scene.
like Peppy is just the role of just a woman he like stops and dances with for a minute, just as he's like just sort of dancing from person to person to move across the ballroom. And the film shows us he has to stop and record it over and over again. And
Because
there's
this is after he caught her in his room, and so he has this weird like, what is
no,
going?
I think it's
Is it
before.
before?
Yeah, because
Well, so I guess then it's after she kissed him on the red carpet,
yes, it's after
and
that.
it's all in the papers. It's you know,
Yeah.
this is the big headline news. So he's like, huh, who is that girl?
And he has to start this scene over and over again because they keep like flubbing up something. And there's always this couple seconds of him, like after they hit like the clapboard, he's just there kind of collecting himself. And like he's so like nervous and
Like
flustered.
into his thoughts. Yeah,
Yeah, and
he's
like
what the fuck is wrong with me?
it's not about being an actor, it's about being with her and just them like dancing with each other. It just a couple times over and over again,
Yeah.
and it's so like slow and sweet, and you don't need like anything that they're saying, you just need like the way they're moving and the way they look at each other. Like that is one of the best and the most unconventional falling in love montages I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I think that's
It's
what
a
I'm going to
fantastic scene.
remember from this movie years from now.
And you're totally right. The scene where she goes into his room is immediately after that. Because in my head, I was thinking like, man, she must be nervous because like it's one of those things where like 50 girls lined up that morning to be on the if she's making him flustered and he's the star, wouldn't they just get rid of her? And she seems to be fine. She seems to be loving it, and then afterwards she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go see if he's in his room and talk to him. And he's not there, and that's when she's like, what do you smell like? I'm gonna write my number on your mirror. Which they don't really like. She writes something on there, but
thank you.
Yeah. It's blurry though once you actually do get to see it because it's not like focused on that, but yeah, so she does that immediately afterwards, but that's a fantastic scene. I do like that one a lot. I was gonna go into my second complaint about this film. I think it's too long.
It is longer than I thought it was going to be when I sat down to watch it,
and this is a difficult thing for me because I don't think any of the moments are wasted. If that makes sense. Like I don't feel like scenes lingered too long or there was an unnecessary like B story. Like I think everything had its place and everything was very tight. It just they told us a lot. Yeah. And very like it's very plain to see that the director do you know who this was directed
his
by?
His name is Michael or Michel Hazanavicius, maybe the European pronunciation.
That's right.
Yeah,
because I saw it and I was like, Havana Vicious. That's an awesome name. But yeah, like it very obviously they know how to tell a story and like here's the information you need to know. I think I'm kind of a testament to that because all of the title cards and stuff were in French, so I just watched it visually, but I feel like I understood it 100%, right? But yeah, like like I felt like it's not that there were parts that I felt like didn't need to be there or stuff like that. It was just yeah, like it was just it's a little bit long, and I know you can tell that story just as effectively by cutting out 20 minutes.
Yeah, like I think right at the beginning of the movie where we're watching that premiere of his film, there is like a shot that goes on for like a little bit too long of just the audience like watching the movie, and I'm like, I got this like 10 seconds ago. It's okay. Like I
Yeah.
think the emotional beats, like I said, I really like the kind of quiet contemplative like
Yeah.
just one character like moving around the room by themselves moments. But I think some of the like Hollywood stuff you could trim a little bit because it is something everybody's so familiar with, like, and the shorthand for it is so efficient. Like, we get it, we don't need as much of it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So that and I mean that's the thing. I want to. I've tried to do it in the past, but I want to make sure if I'm bringing up something I don't like about a film or a comic or something like that, to have some kind of potential solution.
Yeah.
Of just like, hey, it's too long. They could have cut this one particular scene, but this is one that I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a good film, and it's so tightly packed, and there's so much that happens in this film that I think it would be really difficult to make it any shorter than it was. Um, but yeah, I was sitting there, I was like, man, this has been going on for a while. But yeah, and then I think it ended really well when she kind of offers him a job.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, you can join me in my movies. And that's when it kind of moves into the, oh God, what were their names? They did all the Christmas movies, like Bing Crosby and
no, I think
Fred
you're
Astaire.
thinking. Yeah, I think you're thinking of like a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers sort of thing.
Yeah,
They're
that
the
type of
dance
thing
team,
where,
or like a
yeah.
Gene Kelly and somebody.
Yeah, that type of thing. Where yeah, they start acting together, but they're in like 13 movies together, and it's they're all that like, will they, won't they, are they kind of in love? They do song and dance together and stuff like that. And that was kind of neat too, because it's not only like, hey, we're still figuring out Talkies. It's like, hey, here's more like film references of kind of what they're moving towards, which was neat. Okay, and last thing that I think I have to say about this film, it's not. Is it Vincent Price that he kind of looks like? To me, that's immediately what I jumped to. I was like, he kind of looks like a knockoff Vincent Price.
When I look back on him, I think he kind of looks like Walt Disney. I think guys back then just looked like that.
Yeah,
our grandpas probably
look,
looked like that.
There was a certain look, but it just in my head at that moment when I was watching this film, I was like, he looks like a knockoff Vincent Price.
Yeah, he's got like
he's like a Vincent Budget.
Vincent Coupon.
Yeah.
Vincent Price is from St. Louis, and every day I keep waiting for somebody to start a local pizza restaurant called Vincent Slice, because we're also a big pizza town, and nobody's done it yet.
There you go. That's what you need to start.
John Goodman is also a Missourian. And when I was watching this movie, I was like, oh, I didn't know he was in this. I'm so disappointed this is a silent movie because he's got such a magnificent voice.
Yeah,
thank goodness you get that like tiny little bit of dialogue at the end, and he gets to say something.
It's terrific.
Oh, thank goodness.
They're great.
You know what John Goodman does is at the St. Louis Zoo, he is the voice introducing the sea lion show. You know, where the sea lions like slide around on their bellies and like go down the slides and they bounce the balls around. The intro voice is, "Hi, I'm John Goodman. Welcome to the Sea Lion Show."
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah, so you did get a bit of his voice at the end there, which is fantastic. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I don't think this film is for everyone, being as artsy as it is, being silent, and
I think it is maybe the most approachable silent film. Like, if you wanted to
Yeah.
try one, this is probably the best one to try, especially if
Yeah.
it's a modern film and you don't get, like, just all the problematicness that comes with a movie from, like, the 20s or 30s.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of problematic stuff happening in modern films
Yeah.
too. But yeah, it's I think it's a good one to start, but I think it also, you have to go in with like, this is more modern, so it is more palatable, but at the same time it's also a very artsy film.
Yes.
Um so yeah, just know that going into it if you're trying to send this to someone else.
I think artsy sometimes comes off as like pretentious or exclusive, or like you have to be a certain kind of person
Well,
with like a
that's
certain kind of like mindset or intelligence level or like cultured background to get it. And this is like, it's artsy, but it's also like simple enough and like
yeah, it's very
grounded
simple.
in very familiar things to us. So I think it's something just about anybody. I mean, if you've already decided you want to watch a silent black and white movie, this has got you. Like, you are at the level you need to be at to watch this movie. It doesn't ask anything more of you than just reading. Or not
Yeah.
reading, in your case, because it was in French.
Yeah. Who knows? If you had to pitch some other things that other people might like, if they liked this and you're like, hey, if you liked that, you should also check out these things. What would you tell them to go check out?
I really liked this, but also the whole time I was watching it, I kept thinking, I could be watching Singing in the Rain. Have you ever seen Singing in the Rain?
I actually haven't. I'm not a big musical.
Okay. This is.
But you should know this by now,
I know,
Melissa.
but like, it is the musical, and I really recommend you watch it because it's such a fantastic film, start to finish, and it is a really similar plot to this. It is about like this huge star who it's about the transition from silent films to sound films, and it's this
Okay.
huge star who has this like one starlet he's in all of these movies with, and the whole like, you know, tabloid charade is, oh, are they a couple? Where secretly like he cannot stand her, and she's really like trying to make them a couple just for like the career aspect of it,
yeah.
just because it looks good in the papers. And they're about to star in their first sound film together, and she has such a terrible screechy cartoony voice that they have to get somebody else to like dub over her lines for her. And so
Amazing.
there is this, like, he goes to a party and like he accidentally knocks a glass of champagne or a cake or something onto this young dancer, and he follows her and tries to apologize to her, and like they start a little romance, and it is one of those like, I'm a budding actress and I'm a big fan of yours, so I don't know if I'm really going to let you know it. It's the dark version of this, not the dark version of this, but like the version.
It's a dark and gritty musical.
No, but like, if there was a version where George and Peppy met each other and they were like super bickering, and then it took them a little while to figure out that they like each other, that's what Singing in the Rain is.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
I really recommend it. Like, it's like the quintessential like big happy like Hollywood musical. Like, you're going to watch this and see so many things that it influenced later. I think it's really good just as like a big historic part of the cinema landscape. Like, even if you're not a musicals person,
101.
yeah, or if you can't get into like the pacing and the style of an older movie, still watch Singing in the Rain. Like, I think it's that quintessential like to the film experience.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned it at the top of the show. Metropolis.
I have seen Metropolis.
That was, I believe, the first silent movie that I ever watched.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's really good. It's also very long.
Yeah.
But it's like, it was actually made in the like 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's a German film. But
yes.
yeah, all you can get all the title cards in English and stuff like that. But it's it's fascinating. It's sci-fi. It's actually really good. Like, that one, and this film too, despite its length, kept my interest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, huh, this is this is fascinating. There's action, there's suspense, there, and it's kind of about this guy who falls in love with this woman that he saw once and follows her down into like the like working coal mines, where he has this weird sci-fi vision of this like metallic god.
Yeah.
And the story goes all over the place, but it's one of those things where it's like it's so ridiculous that it's fascinating. Just like, this is amazing. Like, I just want to watch, because it goes to all of these crazy, like, I didn't know they were gonna do this. There's a robot woman. What the hell? There's a witch. There's a savior figure. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Metropolis is neat. I had like a board game night with my brothers once, and we put that on in the background just to like listen to the score and like look up at when we were waiting for somebody else to take a turn. Like, if you don't know if you're invested in sitting down for like a 2.5-hour silent movie, it's good background stuff for something like that. Try it out.
That one, I think, is like Silent Films 101 or just film history 101. You shouldn't watch that. It's fantastic. But it's also like sci-fi 101. Like, this is some of the earliest like sci-fi film that there is, if not the first thing. I don't know. But yeah, good stuff. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now you're ready?
Now I am ready. I just cut out a large chunk of us recording because I was unprepared to pitch stuff, but I was also prepared at the same time because I'm an idiot and I forgot things. So you kind of did a third romance Valentine's Day thing, and I say screw romance. No more romance this month. We are going to go mind fucks.
Mind fucks.
Yeah. A week of mind fucks.
I like this.
So I mean, if you think fucking is romantic, there you go. But this is not the same. Pitch number 1. Legion Season 1.
Ooh, okay.
This was, I believe, on FX.
Yes.
It is a X-Men show, actually. I don't know if a lot of people knew that going in.
I did.
But it follows the X-Men Legion, whose mutant power is that he has split personalities, and all of his split personalities have different mutant abilities. And he doesn't, some are good, some are bad, some you never really know what you're gonna get. So he's this kind of like mentally unstable character. And he's kind of going through, I guess, therapy / he's being experimented on and stuff like that. So it's one of those things you don't know what's real, what's in his head and stuff like that. And it's really, really neat. It has this kind of like 1970s vibe to it, like the fashion and the style, like that's kind of what it looks like. I forget when it's actually taking place, so it might be in that time frame. But yeah, it's kind of about him dealing with all of that and learning to cope and escape from this facility. And is he really escaping? And I don't know what the fuck is going on with that show. But it is fantastic, and god damn it, I forget everyone's name. I'm terrible with names. Who's the actress from Parks and Rec? Not the main ones, but the sarcastic one that is in love with Chris Pratt.
Aubrey Plaza.
She's in this, and she's fantastic in the show. She is amazing. And yeah, this is just a big mindfuck of what the hell is going on. And there is a scene where it goes into black and white silent film stuff where they do the title cards and everything. So when I picked this movie to cover this week, I was like, oh, there's a scene like that in Legion.
Okay.
Maybe I should pitch that next week. What could I pitch alongside Legion? Oh yeah, Legion was a mindfuck. Let's just do all mindfucks
I like
this next
this
week.
theme. How long is Legion?
Legion, season 1, I believe, is only 6 episodes.
Okay.
But I think they're all an hour long, but they're on TV, so they're all like actually 40 minutes long. I know it used to be on Hulu. I don't know if it still is or not, but I wanted to watch season 1.
Okay.
I think season 2 is already out. I have not seen season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen season 1, and it's good. It'll be interesting to talk about.
Okay.
Pitch number 2 is maybe one of my favorite anime movies. It's by Satoshi Kon. This is Perfect Blue.
Oh, yes.
This is also a very fucked up film.
Yeah.
He does it. A lot of the stuff that Satoshi Kon does, all of it is a mindfuck.
Yeah.
Paprika.
Mm-hmm.
Millennium Actress is not as much of a mindfuck, but it's still this idea of mixing reality with stuff that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the Paranoia Agent was the TV show he did. That was a mindfuck. But Perfect Blue.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this film and I loved it immediately. It's a very slow film, though. That is the one thing that's like you need to be prepared for that. It moves very slowly, but it is creepy. It is weird. I've seen it 4 or 5 times. I still don't know if I understand exactly what happened. Have you seen the movie Black Swan? With what's her name?
I have not, but I know what Perfect Blue is. Like, that was something that I read about in America Anime magazine when I was like 12 years old. Like, from the time I started getting into anime, I know that was like one of the most prolific anime films you could watch.
Black Swan is kind of a remake of this film, which is, I think, based off of like a short story.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this idea that there's this young pop idol who wants to become an actress, so she quits her singing career. And meanwhile, there is this guy that is in love with her and is stalking her. And it's one of those things of like, is this all really happening? Is this made up in her mind? Is there really a stalker? Is this guy even real? What is happening? Is she on a movie set right now? Is this the movie? What is going on? So that is pitch number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch number 3. Season 1 of Mr. Robot. Have you heard about this show?
In a general sense, I don't really remember.
It exists.
I know it exists. I know it stars Rami Malek and Christian Slater.
Yes.
Some 80s man. Okay.
Yeah, Christian Slater. Mr. Robot is. I've only seen season 1 of the show, so I also need to catch up on this show. But I loved season 1. It is fantastic. It's about this young guy who is a hacker. He works for a big company, kind of working in their cybersecurity department. And he's supposed to keep it safe, but at night, he goes home and he hacks stuff and stuff like that. And he kind of gets involved in this really big hack that is going on. And there's this whole, it's just, it ends up being this, like they're stealing money or something, something like that. But then it gets to be this thing of like, wait a minute, is this hack really actually happening? Is this a real thing? Is he making it up all in his head? Is it, what is happening here? And it's a big mind fuck too. But it wears a lot of its influences on its sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like, oh, this is influenced by this movie and this show and this, and it's at the same time it's influenced by so many things that it's kind of, it makes its own thing, which is
Mm-hmm.
neat. But it's still like, oh yes, they took the narration from that I believe it's the Taxi movie, or Leon the Professional,
Mm-hmm.
that type of stuff. The like 80s hacking
Mm-hmm.
vibes and stuff like that are like definitely, all of that stuff. It's also like V for Vendetta
Mm-hmm.
and Fight Club type of stuff, like all mixed into one. So it's fantastic. I love that show as well. But yes, Remy Malik, I believe is how you say his name.
Mm-hmm.
He's the main character. He does all of the narration too. And Christian Slater is one of the other main characters. And it is a fantastic show.
Nice. What a
Pitch number
variety of
one.
things.
Pitch number one was Legion season 1. It's 6 episodes. Pitch number 2 is Perfect Blue. It's a movie, and I believe it's like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And Mr. Robot season 1, I believe, is 13 episodes.
Okay. I love me some X-Men. I love weird computer things, but Perfect Blue is like one of those things I put on my to-do list when I was 12 and then forgot about. Now I'm
It's
like, oh
probably
yeah.
good that you didn't watch it when you were
I
12.
probably shouldn't have. I tried to watch
There's
Grave of the
there's
Fireflies. I'm not doing that again.
that
Kids,
is the
don't
most
watch
depressing movie
don't
ever.
watch Grave of the Fireflies. Trust us. It's too sad.
But it's not that this is just like, whoa, this is a mind fuck, what's going on. There's some really fucked up stuff that happens
and like
in
that was
Perfect
the impression
Blue.
I got when I'm like 12 years old reading an anime magazine. Like, oh, I'll have to see this someday. Both one, maybe when I'm a little older, and two, when I can get a hold of it. Because like I'm 12 and I get $5 a week in allowance, and there's no like real internet shopping yet, at least not the way my parents can get.
Yeah.
So this is another thing I hope to do with the show. Like, remember anime I read about when I was 12, and now that I'm an adult and I have like money and the internet, and my mom's not looking over my shoulder like, what are you watching? Now I can watch it all. Let's watch
There you
Perfect
go.
Blue. I can knock that off my list.
Perfect Blue. This is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I would put it up there in my top 3.
Ooh,
This is a good fucking movie.
nice.
Yeah, I am excited
Hmm.
for Perfect Blue for this next week.
There'll be 2 blue things from you in a row. We did
2 blue
Spider-Man
things.
blue.
Oh yeah,
Now
and
we're
then
gonna do
Perfect Blue.
It's like we
Next
could put
I
a third thing in there, but you're not going to get better than Perfect Blue. Like, so it'd be a step
wasn't
down.
there some like 90s or like early 2000s like surfer kind of thriller
Blue
movie?
Crush?
There we go. I don't know. I have no
We'll
idea.
watch Blues Brothers next.
Yeah, or didn't Elvis make a blue movie? I know he had like didn't he do White
Why, maybe we could watch
Christmas,
David
like
Lynch's
Blue
Blue
Hawaii?
Velvet. That
There
falls
you
into the
go.
mindfuck category.
Who knows? Uh, we'll see how long we can keep this blue theme going.
Patrick Stain, then we have to find a green movie.
There you go. Well, that being said, this was episode 45 of the review show. Next week will be episode 46. We'll be covering Perfect Blue. Melissa, where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
You can find me online on Twitter and Instagram at YoKyleSpringer. That's where you guys can yell at me on the interwebs. If you want updates with this show, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. If you enjoyed this show or any of our other podcasts, I guess I should say our other podcast, you guys can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thewhatnauts for just a single dollar. That would be fantastic. $1. One. New episodes of the review show come out on Wednesdays. If you would like to get them early, Patreon is the place to do that. You get all of our podcasts early. You know what? I guess I can say any of our other podcasts, because we have the Captain's Log and the Reactor Core, which we haven't done anything for in a long time.
We're getting into like a good movie season. Like we're gonna have Captain Marvel. I want to go see Shazam.
All the summer blockbusters. So all of that stuff. If you guys want to get all of our episodes early, Patreon is the place to do so. Or if you want to hang out in the live stream with us, actually, you and I need to talk about that, because we talked about maybe making the live streams for this show specifically exclusive to patrons.
Yeah.
You and I will have to talk about that. But for the time being, and quite possibly the rest of the future, who knows what we will decide, you can watch this show live every Sunday, usually at noon, noon Eastern time. And this week we started a little bit late, but that's usually when you can catch us. We are at twitch.tv/the Whatnauts or at thewhatnauts.com/live streams.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that is all the things. Go like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week, guys.
All right.
Adios, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching that episode of the review show. Go click in the middle here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click over that way to see the latest video, and click over here to see whatever other video from us that YouTube wants you to watch. Go hit that one.